The Indiana Hoosiers will get revenge against the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first ticket purchase. I appreciate you being here. Appreciate you being an everydayer. You're the reason we're growing. You're the reason that we are here each and every day just for you. So we appreciate you making us your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. If you're on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's free. It's easy. It takes 2 taps and it helps us out tremendously. So thank you so much for doing that. Also, if you're on the audio platforms, we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So thank you so much for being there as well. Indiana hosting Nebraska tonight. And yes, they will get revenge for the blasting that they took way back in the beginning of Big Ten schedule when they went on the road and got beat by Nebraska 86-70. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why I think Indiana wins this game, like I think they need to win this game, how they're going to win this game with some keys, and then a conversation that we have yet to have, you and me. What about those uniforms we saw the other night? What about those new Adidas jerseys we saw? Did you like them? Did you not like them? I'll give you my thoughts on those later on in the show today as well. Hoosiers hosting Nebraska in one of the key games here down the stretch. No, not necessarily in terms of an NCAA tournament bid or a resume. I mean, I know I've talked a lot about that, but I think we can kind of throw that out the window, can we not? This is a game where, believe it or not, if this was neutral site, it would be technically considered a quad 1 game because as of right now, Nebraska is sitting 48th in the net rankings, and it has to be top 50 neutral site. With this game being at home, it has to be top 30. If this was on the road, it would be a quad 1 game. But with it being here in Bloomington, in Assembly Hall, that's why this is not technically considered a quad 1 win. But still a big game, still a huge opportunity for this Indiana team because you look at Nebraska right now, in the latest bracketology that came out yesterday, Nebraska is a last 4 bye. They are on the bubble right now, which tells me they're coming into this game knowing that they have to win. Why? Because this is not a quad 1 game for them. Indiana is outside the top 100 of the net. Even being on the road, they're not top 75. So this is a quad 2 game for Nebraska, something they do not want to drop while they're a team on the bubble. And Indiana's looking for a little bit of revenge. I don't have to remind you what happened the last time these two teams played, but just for fun, I'll remind you anyway. 86-70 was the final score. And do you remember what happened? Do you remember who just decided to have one of the best games of his season, the second highest scoring game so far this year for Mr. Keisei Tominaga? Yeah, he went off and just obliterated you for 28 total points, 9 of 15 from the floor, 4 of 10 from 3, and it seemed like he made a whole lot more than that. He was 6 of 7 at the free throw line. Most of those came in that second half where they just went nuts, and he just had a second half. He had a game. And you look at his point totals, that's the second highest total of the season, only behind the 31 that he dropped against Illinois the other day. So he has been really playing, 31 on the road and an overtime loss to Illinois. So, Indiana was his second best game of the year by far. And the Hoosiers, when it came to lack of guard play and really lack of defensive guard play, they got exposed in this game last time. And they've got to find a way to slow down this Nebraska team. Look, they're 18-8 Okay, they've been sort of up and down in the Big Ten. They do come in on a 2-game winning streak, though. You got to keep that in mind. Yes, it's Michigan and Penn State, but Indiana can't say much, especially about that Penn State squad. We get another chance at them coming up very shortly. But this is a Nebraska team that when you start breaking them down at this point in the season, it's always interesting to me when you get a team twice, right? It's one of those teams that you get for a second time. Look, they're a good offensive team. They average 77 points a game. That is good. That's really good, actually, in college basketball. And they scored every bit of that and then some the last time these two teams got together. So we've got to find a way to slow them down. And it's a group effort. It's Tominaga. It's Mast, right? It is Williams and Garrett, guys that we saw the first time around that had good games and played up to their potential. And Nebraska was just a better team offensively than Indiana. And we have been a good defensive team for the most part when we want to be. When we force teams to shoot the ball, we crash the paint, and we force them to take tough shots and they don't knock them down. Nebraska knocked them down last time we played. Can you prevent that in this game? Absolutely you can. You force them to take those long twos, contested threes. I know we don't guard the three very well, but I think we've got to protect the paint here. Protect the paint, make them shoot, and let's see what they've got. They shoot it fairly well from three, 36%. So maybe those contested twos. And I say, look, we've got the size down low. I say we come crashing out on shooters, make them drive, and get into the lane. And then at that point, we have to defend without fouling. If we can defend without fouling, hey, I'm talking to you, Kel'el, Ware, and Malik Reneau. If you can do that, we've got a good chance. Get those blocks, get those contested layups, and those tough floaters that they try to send over the 7-foot Kel'el Ware. If we do those things, we're in good business here. We're going to be in good shape. We'll talk some more about that when it comes to our keys to the game. A lot of it, I think, is offensively. Yeah, a lot of defense there, and you got to find a way to slow Nebraska down. But if you can score some points and put some pressure on them, what's going to happen? I think we're going to find out and see. We'll have keys to the game coming up in just a second. But I do think that Indiana gets revenge against Nebraska in this game, builds some momentum as we move towards the end of the regular season, as we're going to need a big run in the Big Ten tournament. Keys to the game for Indiana and Nebraska coming up on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Look, Game Time is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Some of my favorite parts of the Game Time app: easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Views from all your seats in the venue. So any venue, doesn't matter where you're going. Click on the event, click on your seat, and you get a full 360 view, and you're going to see exactly what you will see when you buy that ticket. It doesn't get any better than that. Plus, their lowest price guarantee, event cancellation, and even job loss protection is all what makes the Game Time app my go-to ticketing app. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. All-in prices show your total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out, and buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Again, download the Game Time app. For new customers, use the code LOCKEDON, and they're going to give you $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. I appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. Hoosiers hosting the Cornhuskers once again. We were on the road the first time. It's time for them to come here to Bloomington. And we do this every time. Let's do some keys to the game for this Indiana Hoosier squad in this matchup. We already talked about Tominaga. You've got to keep him in front of you. You've got to put pressure on him. Look, I don't know who's going to guard him. I keep saying Trey Galloway, but that hasn't worked out. He just doesn't seem to be that guy night in and night out. But the problem is there's really nobody behind him. You can't trust Gabe Cupps to guard Tominaga because he's just going to cross him up and go right around him, or he's just going to shoot over him. I'm thinking maybe an Anthony Leal. I think that may be the go-to thing. Him and CJ Gunn, maybe switch off between those two guys and see what you can do. Because I also think that Tominaga is a defensive liability. Not in a horrible way. I mean, he's decent defensively, but God, if Indiana could get aggressive with their guards, I really think we've got something going here. The pick and roll game has got to be there again tonight. I think if you do that, you've got a great chance to win, because while Nebraska does have a little bit of size, they don't compare to you. We've got a 7-footer. You remember in the Avengers when Iron Man says, yeah, we have a Hulk? Yeah, we have a 7-footer. Let's use him to our advantage. Pick and roll with Kel'el Ware, pick and roll with Malik Reneau, and do it until they stop it. I don't care if you're tired of it, if you get so annoyed by it and get so bored. I don't care. Run the pick and roll until they stop it, because then you're going to have the opportunity to pop those guys out. Do we really trust Kel'el Ware and Malik Reneau to shoot threes? No, not necessarily. But does Nebraska know that? I don't know. Then you can pass it, dish it, cut to the basket, do so many other things. Or that guard that's coming down with the basketball in their hands, instead of lobbing it up to the Ware or the Reneau that's now blocked, boom, kick it out to the corner, open shooter, move the ball, move the defense. That's how offense has got to work in this game for Indiana. But I really think that we have to use the pick and roll game to our advantage, because you can't stop them both. And most of the time, it's us that stop them on our own. It's us saying, Ware, Reneau, we're fine. We're not going to use you right now. Let's just take a bunch of tough shots, tough twos, and hope that they go in. That's not going to work. But also, another key here, you've got to find somebody that's willing to take a shot and make a shot outside of McKenzie and Mbako. I think Trey Galloway can be that guy. I really do, but it's just not consistent. I think he could be that guy. I think Anthony Leal has shown us he can be that guy. Hell, Gabe Cupps shown us he could be that guy if he really wants to be, but there's got to be some consistency here. And to beat an offensive team like Nebraska, yeah, we're going to have to score more than 68 points. Sorry, it's just how this is going to have to go. You got to score more than the 70 you did on the road. And if you can run with them for a little bit, that's where those defensive stops come in. That's where forcing turnovers comes in. And something I really liked that we were doing against Northwestern was pushing the basketball. You've got to force turnovers and get out and run. We didn't do that very often. Northwestern didn't turn it over all that much, so Indiana wasn't able to take advantage. The Hoosiers couldn't do anything. Turn the ball over, get in passing lanes, swat shots, do not foul. Malik Reneau and Kel'el Ware, do not foul. Stay on the floor. And I think the Hoosiers are going to be in a good spot here. I look at these two teams. You cannot tell me, even as an Indiana fan, a Nebraska fan, Big Ten fan, college basketball fan, compare these two rosters right now. Compare them. Look at them side by side. Print them out on pieces of paper and pull them up and look at them. You cannot tell me or convince me that Nebraska is a more talented roster than Indiana. I refuse to believe it. Are they a better team? They are right now. Are they playing better? Absolutely. Better record, better resume, tournament team. We're not that. Hoosiers aren't even close. But we're more talented. We're absolutely more talented. Use it. Take advantage. Show it in a game like this game tonight, where you're at home again, a place you have not defended very well, and prove to everybody that this team is here to fight. This team is here to stay, that you are not going to be a tough out for anybody, which that has not been the case this season. I mean, there's numerous teams that I think we're looking forward to playing Indiana on their schedule. Not many people have been threatened to come into this building, our building, here recently. Make Nebraska scared after those first couple of minutes. Make them worry, be like, oh crap, what have we walked into? Like teams used to do here, like they used to feel walking into the one and only Assembly Hall. it's just another building right now because we haven't defended it very well. Fans show up, students show up, the atmosphere is great until we're down by 10 in the first 10 minutes, and then everybody's just checked out because we know what the pending result's about to be. Those things have to happen here. And I think if you can do those things, get a win, get revenge for what they did to you at their place, we're going to have to get hot a little bit. Just like they did in their game, we've got to do that in our game. And if you win this, no, it's not going to do a ton for your postseason outlook, but I do think it gets you started on a little bit of a roll here because we've talked about the end of the season. It's not that bad. It could be worse. It absolutely could be worse. And you have opportunities here with this game against Nebraska. Then you go on the road to Penn State, who, again, that's not a good team. That's a terrible loss that you had earlier in the year. Take care of that one. You have Wisconsin. They're not a top 25 team anymore, but that's a quad one game. And that's at home right here in Bloomington. And then you have at Maryland, at Minnesota, and home for Michigan State. You don't have to win them all. I know we talked about that, but let's just be real. That possibility is gone. You don't have to win them all, but if you can start to build some momentum, then you make that run through the Big Ten tournament, and you just never know. You just never know, but you got to take it one game at a time. You got to start with the revenge game tonight against Nebraska, which I think we win. I do. I think we win. We're the better team. We're more talented. Are we better coached? That's a conversation for a different time. But Indiana and Nebraska coming up tonight inside of Assembly Hall on the Big Ten Network. I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good game. And a reminder, we will have a post-game reaction show going up live for you that will be up on the next day. So keep that in mind. Final segment coming up on Locked On Hoosiers. We'll talk about those uniforms we saw over the weekend. Why did we see them? Did we like them or not? Sort of your reaction to it. And can we expect to see this moving forward? All that coming up in the final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. So tonight, Indiana and Nebraska. Are you confident in the Hoosiers? Put $5 on it with FanDuel. If you win, they're going to give you $150. Maybe you're not feeling so confident about Indiana and you think Nebraska comes in here and beats us. Hey, throw $5 on it. See what happens. Maybe, hedge your bet a little bit. Put $5 on it with FanDuel if it's your first bet. And no matter what, if it wins, you're going to get $150 from them. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. I appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot. Reminder, we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Never behind a paywall. Never have to pay for a subscription. Everything is totally free. All you got to do, for me personally, like the video, subscribe to it on YouTube. That's all you got to do. Turn on notifications wherever you get your podcast. As we move away from the game itself coming up tonight, and we've moved on from the game that happened over the weekend, how are we feeling about those uniforms that we saw by Indiana over the weekend? Those smoky grays over the weekend with the red on the middle and, just the big bold number with the Indiana down the bottom of it. How do we feel about the alternates over the weekend? It's been very mixed results. I will say that. Very, very mixed results. And the deputy director of athletics, Stephen Harper, actually talked about this a little bit on Monday night, and I want to read to you what he had to say. He says, look, we're as traditional as the fans are. We like the traditional uniforms. He says, Adidas has been a good partner for us in the department, and from time to time, they do like to bring social or special products that they think will excite the players, excite recruits, those kinds of things. That was an example of that on Sunday against Northwestern. Obviously, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. We heard a lot from fans that didn't necessarily love those, which we understand. We don't plan on moving away from the traditional look of Indiana basketball, which, again, means a lot to us. I was there when they had the unveiling. To the players, the Fear of God brand that Adidas is partnering with is very hip, cool with the students, okay? I meet a lot of our recruits as they come to tell them about the opportunities that we have in the department, and you'll see a lot of our recruits wearing that brand. So I think it's meaningful to them, even though it's not meaningful to everyone else. And that's what it is. It is that Fear of God brand within, or that Fear of God style within the Adidas brand. And look, I know there's a lot of people, a lot of Hoosiers fans, and I understand this. There's a lot of old school fans that have grown up on the same thing, the candy cane pants, right? You've got the same colors, same scheme, same jersey, same thing, day in, day out for the last 50 plus 100 years, however long you've been alive and supporting Indiana. And I totally get it. I totally get it. I do think change is okay. That's why it's called an alternate jersey. It's called an alternate uniform. You wear it differently than you wear anything else, and you wear it every now and then in special occasions. And while I liked the idea, and I think it is cool, and look, the Hoosiers in Indiana are one of the few remaining big name Indiana or Adidas brands and schools and programs. I love the traditional stuff, but I like the idea of something different. I just don't know if this was it. It was very, it was very bland to me. I feel like they didn't take a whole lot of time to do it. And I understand. I think that's what they were going for. I think they were trying to just keep it simple, keep it pretty straightforward and bold, if you will. I don't know. I just feel like they took some electrical tape, some red electrical tape, and just put it on there and said, here you go. And not a whole lot of effects, not a whole lot of pop to it. And I'm not going to say it's sore to the eyes, but it's not going to pop out at you. You're not going to notice it when they walk on the floor and be like, wow, that's sharp. It was just kind of there. So I don't know. I've seen a lot of mixed reviews. I hope they keep trying things. I hope they keep trying to do stuff like this every now and then. Not a lot by any means. Certain brands should not be messed with very often, and we are one of them. The Hoosiers in Indiana are one of those historic, noticeable, make noise when they walk in the room type of brands. And our colors, our brand, our scheme, our traditions are those types of things. People notice when people wear Indiana. It sticks out. Hoosiers, it sticks out. Those pants stick out. And they still have those. The uniforms are just a little bit odd. I think it could be good. It could work. It just didn't look like they put a whole lot into it. But again, I think that's what they were going for. I don't know. I don't know. And look, there's people that don't like Adidas. There's people that aren't fans of the whole Adidas brand and Indiana being an Adidas school. But we were not the only ones to do it, by the way. Miami, Florida, did it as well. They had those ultimate uniforms as well. And there were, according to Jeff Rabjohns at Peaks.com, there were numerous big-time Adidas folks in the building when we debuted those against Northwestern. So, I don't know. I think they're going to have to go back to the drawing board on this one. I'm going to be really honest with you. I think they got to go back to the drawing board and try to figure something else out. I like the changes. I like the idea of it. Just wasn't the best delivery and execution, if you will. But I know there's a big crowd that doesn't ever want it to change. And you know what? After this, I can't say I blame you. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Look, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you tuning in every single day, liking the video, sharing it, following us on X at Locked On Hoosiers, me on X as well, subscribing to the channel. Look, we're having so much fun over here, and you are the reason, and I thank you so much for that as we push towards 1,800 subscribers. You are the reason. So thank you so much. Be sure you do that. Like the video, again, free and available wherever you get your podcast. We will have a reaction episode going up after Indiana and Nebraska, the revenge game for the Hoosiers, and I think we pull it off. So that'll be coming up and wherever you get us, coming up tomorrow here on Locked On Hoosiers. So until then, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.